My name is Tunde Onakoya. I'm a National Master of Chess in Nigeria. I'm a chess professional and the convener of Chess in Slums Africa. I used to go to a barbering salon on the other side of the road to play video games. So on one of those days, the barber brought out a chess set. I'd never seen a chess set before prior to that time. And, you know, that was the first time I ever saw, a board, and I was just fascinated by the way the pieces were carved. And yeah, it was love at first sight. I just fell in love with the way the pieces looked. And, over time, I would just watch him play and his friends. And so I picked up the rules of the game and how the pieces moved. So that was the first time I found the gift of chess. I mean, I didn't know that it was going to be a major part of my life then, but that was my first experience of chess. Growing up for me, I think it has a lot to do with like solving you're more inclined to solve like the problem that you understand, that you can directly relate to, right? And I think growing up for me, it was difficult. We grew up in a very difficult place, and that's just the honest truth. And a lot of what happened like really culminated into like what I later got to become as an adult, right? When I got to learn chess, when I got back to school, fortunately, the school I attended had like an active chess program. We actually learned chess as a subject in my school. And yeah, so it gave me a lot of life-changing opportunities. I won a trophy for the first time, for a boy from Salodo, from the ghetto in Ikorodu, winning chess, beating other rich kids from other schools. I remember the first time I ever saw a computer was when we went out for tournaments, right? So it helped me as a child to believe that I could become anything I wanted in the world. That confidence that I could excel at chess, a game that was meant for smart people, gave me the confidence that I could become anything I wanted in the world. And yeah, so that really that was like that defining moment for me as a child. And growing up, I got a lot of opportunities, went to college on a partial scholarship, represented my school. I went pro. I was ranked number 13 in Nigeria at the time, and I won a lot of tournaments. I played chess at the most professional level, and till 4 years ago, sometime in 2018, I decided that I wanted to go back and use that talent of chess that I had and give it to all the children as a gift. Now, how does it tie into how growing up was for me? It's because I also grew up in the slums, right? I know the pain of hunger. I know what it means to go to bed hungry. I know the pains of poverty, how poverty really deprives one of opportunities, right? Chess was what literally saved me because it gave me an avenue to see the world for what it was, not for what the limitations of my community, showed me, right? Because for most of the kids that we grew up together, most of them got into drugs, crimes, and all of that. So chess gave me an understanding of the world beyond those confines. And I thought every child deserves. Imagine if chess wasn't the one thing that took me out of the slums. Imagine what I could have become, yeah? So, and that is the fate of millions of other children in Nigeria, across slum communities, because those are where children are most vulnerable. So I thought, why not just take it back to them, as a way so they can also know that they can become, right? So, that is like the connection between my own life and now going back to give other children like me the same opportunities I got through chess. It started as a thought, right? Because at the time, I didn't even have a job, so I was super broke. So I used to play piano in church at the time, and on one of those days, some of my friends then used to go to one place called Lungu to smoke. So it's a place in Majidu in Ikorodu. Majidu is a slum community too. So whenever we're done playing instruments at church, they will go there, I'll just go home. So on that day, I just said I wanted to follow them, and we just went there together, and I saw guys just smoking. I saw children smoking. It was just a slum community. There was no sense of a higher purpose, right? And it was in that moment I kind of had an epiphany that look at these children, the world is constantly evolving, and for most of them, they would never get to know that there's a much larger world out there with a lot of opportunities with technology, with the internet, So, and no one seemed to care, right? And because this is a consequence of their parents being poor, so being in a place like this, it was like a question of how will these children make it in life? You know, like how will they make it in life? And I just thought about what I could do. I didn't have money or anything. I'm like, well, since I didn't have a job and I had some free time, I could just come and teach them chess. I didn't know how it was going to like put food on their table. But one thing I knew was at least it was going to give them something, one more thing to be hopeful about. Now imagine if a child from the slums could become a chess champion. People's perception about that child would change, not just as a poor child from the slums, but for a child that has intellectual capacity. So that was just a mindset behind it, to like change that narrative that it doesn't matter where you're from, right? What should really count is what you have the ability to do. So teaching them chess and giving them the ability to do it well was one way to change that perception, right? I knew that if they become really good, people would respect them and give them more opportunities, because talent is universal, but opportunities aren't, right? So that was the mindset behind it. And I mean, it was just an idea. I kept thinking about it. I kept reading about it, you know. And one of those days, September 1st, 2018, we decided to start officially, went to meet the leader of the community and told him I wanted to teach the children there for 3 months. And yeah, he gave us a space. And me and my friends always come there every Saturday and Sunday. And we started teaching the children chess, right? And it was tough because I didn't have money and we had to like give them food. A lot of them only even came because of the food, because it was hard convincing the parents, because the children had to like do menial jobs to support their parents. It was hard convincing the parents to let their kids participate in the chess program, right? So how do you tell a child that needs to go and hawk fish for his mom that he should come and be learning chess that they don't even know what it means or how it adds any value to the lives of the children? So, but yeah, so we gave them incentives. I would always give them food after every training. So because of that, a lot of them started coming, but then we didn't have money to even sustain it. So it was pretty tough. And it was on one of those days, I remember after training and I got home and I realized that the children were keeping letters in my pocket. So they would write things like, Uncle Tunde, I don't have school bag. Uncle Tunde, I have not eaten since morning. Uncle Tunde, this. And Uncle Tunde is broke. So I just thought about what I could do. So I remember on that day, I just took pictures of the letters and I posted it on Facebook that, well, I'm doing this project and these children have other needs that I cannot meet, right? I tried to detach myself emotionally from their struggles, whatever it is they needed outside the chess. I wanted to teach them, but it was impossible because these children, like when you think about poverty in its purest form, it's in these slum communities. So I started writing about my experiences, about the children's needs, right? Most of them were not even in school, right? And people started seeing it, started getting following from one person liking it to 2 people. Then people started following and people started seeing and people started reaching out to support. So that like eased the burden after some time. And I thought, okay, then I would incorporate storytelling into this and tell the stories of the children more often. And on one of those days that I did that, one of the girls got scholarship. Someone reached out to sponsor the child's education for life. And that was a defining moment that I knew that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life. And I wanted to find more stories worth telling, right? To shine spotlight on the children, that see these children showing great aptitude for chess. Now imagine if you give them education. And yeah, so that was how it all evolved into, from chess to life-changing opportunities. So when I met Ferdinand, you know, that's like the most special story to me because, you know, it like sets the, it set precedence for like doing like really impossible things. Like it just set precedence for that, having that conviction in my mind that nothing is impossible anymore. I can do anything, right? And meeting Ferdinand was when we decided to expand to another community. We started from Ikorodu in 2018. We did it for 2 years, 2018, 2019 to 2020. So 2020, 2021, right? COVID happened in 2020. Then 2021, we wanted to take up a new challenge to go to another community and see if we could also make this work somewhere else. So Amakoko is the largest floating slum in the world, like with a population of over 200,000 people. Some of them are fishermen. They live on wooden stilts across the lagoon. And, you know, it's just a slum. like a proper slum, one of the poorest places in the world, where a lot of the children don't even go to school. Education is very undervalued there. So we wanted to stage our intervention there and introduce chess to the children as a way to give them education. So when we got to the community, we got on keynotes for the first time, and we were selecting the children we wanted to teach. And Ferdinand was one of them, and for he's a child, that lives with a medical condition, cerebral palsy, right? And, it's a brain deformity, that affects, muscles and movements, and even he has a speech impairment, right? So when he came around and he couldn't talk, and other kids in the community would mock him and bully him and call him Golugo in their local language, meaning dunce or imbecile, and he would always go home crying to his mom. And so when I saw him on that day, I remember giving him, I had these cool glasses that I gave it to him, and he smiled, and he had such an amazing smile. And I told our project manager that we should add him to the list. And we were a bit worried because, I wouldn't call him a disabled child anymore. Say for a differently abled child, I wondered how I was going to cope with a game as complex as chess. But we gave him an opportunity, and this reflects the true essence of what we do, to give every child an opportunity to know what they can become, right? It's easy to dismiss children in slums because of what they look like without really giving them equal opportunities to thrive, right? So we decided to just take a chance, and we warned the other kids not to bully him while we had our classes, and not to even ever bully him at all. And so during the training, our project manager just came to meet me, and he was crying, and I was like, what happened? He was like, come and see this boy, come and see this boy. I just got to the table. I just saw that the word I just started learning that was beating everybody. He was just the best in his class, and that was when we realized I was a gifted child. And so just incredible. No one could believe that Ferdinand, and so we just paid attention to his growth, to his development. We realized I was really good. He couldn't speak, but then he understood chess in a different way, through patterns. And that was it. So that was our first meeting, and that was how I met Ferdinand. It's my favorite story on this journey because it just made me believe I wasn't crazy, that it is indeed possible to do great things from a small place. And Ferdinand's story just reinstated that in my thoughts, right? After the tournament in Makoko, after the training, we had the tournament, we won the junior category, and the story went viral, inspired thousands of people from around the world. We even met the governor played chess with him. The match ended in a draw. They gave him and his family support, and they put them on scholarship support, for life. And yeah, the story went viral, and it was that moment that we knew, okay, we could do anything. Now we went to Makoko. There was even the language barrier. They couldn't speak English, most of the children, or Yoruba, the local Yoruba dialects are understood. But we're still able to do it successfully. And we put a lot of the children on scholarship. They got a chance to go to school, on educational scholarship support from the Chess In Slums project. And more people got to know about what we do because we went all out for this project. On the final day of the tournament, we wanted them to look different, right? So we made suits for all of them, about 30 children, made suits for them. And the reason why we did this was because it cost a lot of money, right? To make suits, we bought new shoes and all of that. It was because we wanted to change societal perception about children in slums. If I ask you now that, what does a child in a slum that is in poverty look like? The image that comes to your head is a child that is suffering in tattered clothes, and all of that. But we wanted to change the perception that they shouldn't be defined. The slum is just a place. It doesn't define the people that live there, right? What really matters isn't just to go and tell a story of poverty or highlight a poverty, but instead shine spotlight on the potential that the children wield. Imagine we are seeing Ferdinand before he won his tournament. You just dismiss him as another child in the slums that is in poverty. But then we taught him something, and they took it, and look at how far that brought him, right? So that should be the story, the new story of every child in those slums, right? To tell a new narrative of them. So those pictures that we took of them wearing suits went super viral, like super viral. Everyone posted it, everyone loved it, everyone created art out of it, and you know, it just told a different story of, you know, the possibilities that exist if we create the right opportunities for everyone, regardless of their background. So it changed everything for Chess in Slums, right? It put us in the spotlight, made more people know about the great work we were doing, because it's one thing to do good work and not get recognized for it. You know, you're just doing great work and nobody sees you. You've been doing it for like almost 3 years. Nobody really saw it till we did that project, and it was just the beginning of something great. Yeah. Adoption. I mean, of course, when I set out to do this, I never imagined in the world, in this life, that I was ever going to adopt any child, right? Because I'm still young, not married. It's even a struggle to take care of myself. How much more now adopt children and take care of them, you know? And it was out of my hands, right? And I'll tell you the story. You know, the very first time I adopted some of the children, because of the kind of work we do, we work with children in slum communities that, like, if you think about like vulnerable children, you find a lot of them in places like that, right? And it's easy to maybe help an adult and walk away, right? You can empower an adult and just walk away. But with the kind of children we're working with, a lot of them don't even have accommodation, street kids, or, you know, they don't even get to eat more than once daily. You can't just help them and walk away, right? You have to always think sustainability, right? Photo optics are easy. Some people will just carry food, Indomie, and go to places like that, share it and take pictures and say you've impacted the lives of the children. I mean, while that is okay because it's an immediate need, it doesn't solve the problems, you know, in long term, right? So yeah, there was one, when we started teaching the kids in Ikorodu, there was a boy that was learning in our academy, Ayomide then. So he would always tell me that he wanted me to meet his mom, right? So one of those days, I just said I was going to go meet his mom, and he took me there to one shack, you know, one shed, and she was just sitting there on the floor, and she wanted to stand up. I realized that she couldn't stand up. So she was telling me that she had always wanted to come to our training center to thank us for, you know, the chess we've been teaching our son, that she has seen a lot of improvements in his character, but she couldn't come because of her condition. So that was when I realized she had just one leg. The other leg had been amputated. So she narrated, I asked her what happened, and she narrated that, you know, like, things were really bad for them, and the kids had not eaten for 2 days. And she just, because their dad abandoned them when they were kids, she just went to these places they call Bola, where they dump refuse at Ojota, to pick plastic scrap to resell. And on that day, a tragedy struck. A truck that was coming to dump refuse lost its way and caught a leg, ran into people, and they had to like cut her leg right from under the debris to bring her out. And that was how she lost her leg. And she didn't even get proper Medicare because they were poor. So she was just at home, and that was it. So that was how she became incapacitated and couldn't even earn a living. And she had to always beg for money to be able to feed her children. So our kids had dropped out of school. You know, it was the younger one that used to come to the academy. Then the elder one had dropped out of school but was learning to be a mechanic. So I became a part of their lives on that day. I told the elder one to join our academy, you know, and I started supporting them, you know. Then about like maybe a year and some months, we lost the woman. She died. She was terribly sick. I wasn't around for a while, so she was terribly sick. And no one called me, no one told me. So when I got back, you know, I just saw that she had lost so much weight. She was as lean as this, and nobody thought to take her to the hospital and that's the evil thing about poverty. It's not just about having money, it's the mentality, right? They would think that going to the hospital is only for rich people because they can't afford, you know, to buy drugs or to pay, you know, for their medical fee. So immediately when I saw that she was sick, I immediately ordered a cab. We took her to the hospital. She had malaria. It has gotten really bad. She was very sick, and we tried everything we could, and you know, we're carrying out one word or the other, this and that, and in the middle of all of that, she died. And I remember she would always tell me that, because I was the one that had to feel next of kin for them. They had no one, so it's just them. That I should take care of our kids, if anything ever happened to her. And I would always reassure her that nothing would happen. But you know, we lost her, and it really broke me, because I felt like I didn't even do enough. Like, I could have done more to try and save her, but you know, that just happened, and the kids didn't have a place to stay anymore. Right. The only other option was the extended family wanted to take them back to the village in Ekiti to go and start farming, and I said no. And it was there and then I had to make a decision that I knew was going to like alter their lives, and I decided to take them in. Right. There was nothing else I could have done. The only alternative was them to go back to the village. And for children with such incredible potential, then what would happen to their future, right? So so that was the first time I adopted them. And it's been a year and a couple of months now. And I mean, the older one is already in school, on scholarship now. He's almost done his SS3. He's acing his results. He's the best chess player in our academy. The younger one is in school, and yeah, they're doing well. And yeah, so I feel like a proud father on most days, and still trying my best, unlearning certain things to always be there for them. So yeah, so that was our adoption. Crept into it, and I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way now, because if I hadn't taken that step, then who knows what their lives could have become, right? So yeah. And the first thing is that you can't bring baby home anyhow. And the second thing is, I mean, it's a lot of responsibility, because now kids eat a lot, right? Like, the money you spend on food, like, sometimes I just go and sum it up, like how much like we spent on food this month. It's just alarming. Spending so much money on food, on basic items. Well, today I want a toothbrush, this, that. But I don't do it alone, right? Because some of my friends live with me. They're also like volunteers that we started the Chess In Slums project together. So they live with me, and they also help to take care of the children, you know, back in the corridor, right? Even before like I had any furniture in my apartment, like I converted my living room to like a learning center when I moved back to Ikorodu, for children to just come and learn after school, maybe read, use computers. I had iPads and all of that. So it's just like a safe space for them to always like come and learn, right? So there are other kids that we have in scholarship support that come around, so the kids also get to relate with them, you know, and it's not easy, right? Because it instilled this fear in me that I can never be broke again, because if I'm broke, then what happens to them? How would they eat? How would they go to school, right? So it kind of like puts some pressure on me to always try my best to get the best opportunities, right? At least for their sake, right? I'd rather go hungry than watch them go hungry, because they are kids, and they're still growing, and there's so many things that they will still get to do, right? So I mean, the most important thing is to make sure they get all the love and support, you know, so they can grow up to become stand-up role models in society. They don't have parents, they're orphans, right? To be there for them, to serve as a father and as a mother, right? So it's not easy at all, right? And it takes a lot of commitment, right? And even getting into a relationship, you know that, imagine you meet a babe for the first time now, you tell her that you've already adopted 4 children. I mean, it's not even fair, right? So a lot of that, but yeah, most important thing is their future. I get to like give them the kind of care that they need to live without having to worry about societal vices, problems, that struggle, you know, being out on the streets to fend for themselves, right? Because that is how we lose children to that cycle of poverty, become agberos and thugs, right? So to show them in a way that they can know that the only path to success is education. And education isn't just being in the 4 walls of the classroom of getting certified. It is the capacity for thought, to be able to think for themselves and create the future that they desire for themselves. Yeah, so it's not easy, but it is important.